a late night Hokie hangover. Ricky the Blue, Mike McDaniel. Andrew is maybe somewhere over the Midwest. We're not entirely sure. Um, I tweeted out Mike before we got started when we were supposed to get started around 9:30 that it was
Yeah.
a Murphy's Law kind of night.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Andrew's
And
plane got delayed forever. Andrew was on the tarmac for
yeah.
a very long time
Yep.
in Charlotte Douglas.
Yep.
So it's been a heck of a night, but we're here. We appreciate all of you folks that are joining us for a little Hokie hangover after hours.
Yeah.
If you're a regular listener, this isn't all that new to you.
No. 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 It's been kind of a hectic week. I mean, Andrew's traveling to Wisconsin, which he does around this time every year for family reunion, or maybe not even family, maybe just visiting family, but he's up there around this time every year. My dad had back surgery on Monday, so he's getting discharged. You guys will probably listen to this Wednesday. He's getting discharged Wednesday. I was just up there at the hospital. Texted Ricky at like 8:30 and was like, yeah, man, 9:30 is not going to do it. Because I live down in the Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania area. That's a long ways from Fairfax. So I told Rick, I was like, yeah, man, maybe like 10. I mean, 10 will probably work. I was actually home like right around 10. I was like, 10 might work, but 10:30 would be better if we can swing it. So here we are. Apologies for the brief delay.
Regardless, we do appreciate all the folks listening, whether you're watching live on YouTube or X, or if you're listening after the fact. Got some good news. We'll get started with that. Real Property Management Insight, which is one of the premier property management firms in the New River Valley. Tina Merritt is in charge over there. She's a Hokie, big supporter of the program. Also supporting us as a partner. We're really, really excited to bring her on and to bring on RPM Insight this year. A super good company to work with if you're in the property management business, and you've got some properties in the area, you're looking for someone to help you manage those. RPM Insight is the one that you should talk to. Again, always going to support Hokies. We're always a fan of giving Hokies a little bit more pub, and we're certainly appreciative of her support of the show. Speaking of Hokies, of course, Paul Patera and ACC Road Trip, we appreciate them supporting the show as well. You can visit both of those lovely businesses using the links in the show notes or the description, depending on what platform you're watching. And then, of course, if you haven't gotten a new t-shirt or a new sweater for the upcoming season, Home Field Apparel, get your 15% off your first order with code BEAMERBALL. But, Mike, now that we've paid some bills, Virginia Tech is picked 8th in the ACC by the preseason media poll from ACC Kickoff. Seems pretty reasonable to me. I think Virginia Tech is in a weird spot with this roster in year one. I don't think they're in a weird spot with the program, but this is a roster that has kind of a mix of knowns and unknowns, and a lot of the knowns are at kind of a lower level. Guys who came up from the G5 who are going to be playing big time roles this season. But Virginia Tech is one of those teams that I think is going to be hard to peg, given that they've got so many new players on both sides of the ball, trying to coalesce around a core group that is returning, but brand new offense. Obviously, defense is going to be pretty much the same. I imagine Brent Pry will go back to some of his old tricks, but you feel like middle of the road ACC is a fair spot?
I do. There's a lot of questions still. Like, I think people are assuming, and I'm among them, that Ethan Grunkemeyer is going to step in and just automatically be light years better than Kyron Drones. I think that's like a broad assumption. He hasn't played a lot of football, but what we saw at Penn State in a limited sample size was pretty promising last year. So I think we're assuming he'll jump in and be an upgraded quarterback. We're assuming, right, the offensive line that returns a lot of production. We're assuming that, they're going to play better with another year of continuity. We're assuming that the receiving core is going to figure itself out, right? Aiden Green obviously returning, Quayshawn Brown coming into the fold from Duke, who's a very productive receiver, but then who's like that third receiver going to be? Or is it just going to be coming out of the tight end group? And are we just going to assume that Benji Gosnell stays healthy and Matt Reynolds lives up to the hype? Like, there's a lot of things, and that's just the offense, right? Like defense, we're trying to figure out who the pass rushers are. Linebacker, are they going to be consistent? Secondary, I feel pretty good about, right? But I think there's, like you mentioned, there are some knowns on the roster, right? In terms of like the guys that are returning that should get better with another offseason under their belt. But then there are a lot of transfers that are coming in. There's a brand new coaching staff, new schemes, right? And even if Brent Pry is coaching a defense that was perhaps, similar to what was being run last year, obviously Sam Cephas had his own like defense that he was running. But even if Brent Pry keeps some of that same stuff in there, it is going to take some time, right? Even for the defense to gel. It is a tough schedule. Like the second half of the schedule is tough, but like there's opportunities early in the schedule for Virginia Tech to get going and get some wins under their belt. But there are some tricky games in there as well, right? Late September, early October. Like I think everybody's assuming that Virginia Tech's just going to like go to College Park and beat Maryland because Maryland's been this up and down program in the middle to bottom of the Big Ten. And I don't think that's just like a gimme game, right? Especially in year one for Franklin, even though Franklin's got a history at Maryland, all that stuff. Like that game's going to be circled, all that good stuff. But like, I don't think that's a gimme. There are a lot of games like that too, where I think you flip a coin, go 50-50. So it's going to be a tough team to peg this year. I think we're going to find out quickly what the strengths and weaknesses are. It's not going to be a perfect roster in year one. Like you said, Ricky, there's a difference between having questions about the roster and having questions about direction of the program, right? I think everybody's feeling good about the direction of the program, even if year one could be a little up and down, a little rocky at times. I think to expect it all to go perfectly well in year one, I think would be like obviously best case scenario. Everybody's hoping for like the 2016 Fuente team to just like roll out. But I just, that team was different. There was a ton of guys returning. Here it's like there are some guys returning. It's just like totally different circumstances. I think everything needs to go like perfectly well for Virginia Tech to reach like the top end of what people expect them to be. So
yeah, you had multiple NFL players on that 2016 and 2017 team that Virginia Tech was able to win 19 games in 2 years. And you may have a lot of NFL players on this roster, but we don't really know that yet. I think there are a couple guys that potentially have a future on Sundays, but it's a little bit too early to tell. No surprise here. Miami is your preseason favorite to win the conference. SMU second. I'm big on the Ponies this year. I think Rhett Lashley is as good a coach as you'll find probably in the country, doing what he's doing with what he's got to work with. Louisville, a bit surprising at 3, Clemson at 4, Georgia Tech at 5. I find
high
interesting. Not sure how our friend Joey Weaver feels about that. Quick plug for the Basketball Conference podcast. Georgia Tech lost a ton, including their quarterback and their offensive coordinator from last year's team. Virginia is 6, which I think is close, but maybe a little high. NC State 7, Tech 8, Pitt 9th, Duke 10th. Florida State gets 3 votes to win the conference, which is comical. Cal, Wake, Syracuse, North Carolina, which, wow, North Carolina is a mess. Boston College, and Mike, the Cardinal.
Who? I know you. Who?
One first place vote.
Who was it?
Stanford Cardinal.
Who was it? Show
Jesus
yourself.
Christ. Yeah, I don't know about that one. No, I think this is completely reasonable, and this is what I've been trying to tell folks that I talk to in person and folks that I talk to on X or on wherever. James Franklin did not build out this roster for 2026.
No.
This is not a Texas
Tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not a Texas Tech roster where the idea is I'm going to stroke a bunch of checks to a bunch of guys that are going to be ready to star in the first year they're here. Franklin could have gone that route, and perhaps he would have raised the program ceiling in year one, but that would have been very short sighted. And for a program that is making so many long term investments, it makes total sense to try and invest in this roster for 2 to 3 years from now as opposed to this coming season. Now, that's not to say that he didn't bring in guys that are contribute right away. Jaquez White, Cam Chadwick, your 2 starting corners, most likely for this year. I think Jaquez White is the best addition on the roster as far as his track record at Troy. I think he's going to be a fine corner in the ACC, potential, second team all ACC cornerback potentially. But you look at like the defensive line, a lot of the guys they brought in, guys on the offensive line, Ethan Grunkmeyer, guys at receiver like Tysier Denmark. These are all guys that have 2+ years of eligibility. I mean, Tech brought in 27 transfers this past winter, and I think 22 of them have 2 or more years left to go.
Yeah.
That is a long-term vision for what this roster needs to look like. Franklin saw what the high school recruiting had been for the last couple years, saw the talent leaving the program over the last couple years, and knew that he needed to catch up in that regard. And if that means Virginia Tech goes 7-5 or 6-6 in year one, so be it. And I think that's why the Vegas over/under I keep seeing is 6.5, which seems to me like right on the money. I think this is probably a 6-6 or 7-5 team.
Yep.
Now, if Tech goes 4-0 to start, then maybe we start looking at 8-4, right? Yeah. Going 500 down the back 2/3 of the season, I think is completely reasonable. But if they're able to start with wins, obviously against VMI, you would think ODU, Maryland, if they're able to get off to a hot start like that, all of a sudden you can look at a team like Tech that even though they have those games at the back end of the schedule that are going to be really tough, they can probably get to 8-4. But 7 to 8 wins is probably the realistic ceiling for this team. Can Tech rattle off 9? Sure, it's possible. It's not likely, but anywhere from 7 to 8, Mike, I think
3 out of 4, you're at 7, and then win 1 out of your last 3, and one of those games is senior day against Stanford. And Stanford, I think, is going to be pretty bad. Virginia Tech should be favored in that game. So, that's your recipe to get to 8. I think that's hard.
Yeah.
I think that's really hard. I think it's possible. I think it's tough, though. Virginia Tech doesn't have the talent on the roster of SMU. Plus, you're going on the road for that game. They don't have the talent on the roster at going to Miami. They don't have the talent on the roster. Clemson's down, right, relative to what they were when they were winning championships, but they don't have the requisite talent and depth, right? I mean, there's perhaps some top level talent at some positions that match what Clemson's got, but from a depth standpoint, they aren't as built out as Clemson is. I think Cal's going to have a really good offense. You got to go cross country for that, and I don't think Maryland is this gimme that everybody thinks that it is, right? I think everybody's got that game circled early. It's okay, Tech should be able to win that one. Tech's had these games, though, you'll remember Purdue, for example, a few years ago, everybody circled the Purdue game. It's okay, they're a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. And it's just these games are not cakewalks when you're
Nope.
in a rebuild, or you're one of those teams that's pegged to be in the middle of the conference, right? And preseason rankings don't mean anything, but on paper, I think it makes a lot of sense. And we got our season preview stuff coming up too, and we'll pick all the games and all that. But reasonably speaking, I think for the Vegas win total to be 6.5, I think makes a lot of sense. I do, we talked at length all of last year about Virginia Tech's offensive line and how poor it was protecting Kyron Drones and how bad Kyron Drones was, but also he was under a ton of pressure a lot of the time. Yep. And that's not to excuse Kyron Drones because he was missing plenty of throws from a clean pocket as well, or bailing out on clean pockets. Like there were a lot of things wrong with the passing game last year, but I think we're just assuming that it's all going to come together and it's going to be perfect. And like, I think Virginia Tech will be better coached this year too, right? I do believe that. I think they'll be much better coached, but everything has to go perfectly. And I just still think there are a lot of question marks that all have to be answered and all have to be like affirmative positives, like things are moving in the right direction. And I just think in year one, I don't care what era we're in, portal era or not, like it's just a lot to be like assuming that it's all going to come together quickly, especially when you take on as many transfers as you do. Like we see a lot of schools, right? I think the most successful programs, they are building through high school. They're developing those high school prospects, right? They're recruiting well. They're recruiting good players. They are developing those good players into high level Division I ACC players, or whatever conference. And they're developing like the great prospects into elite, like NFL level players. And then where they miss, they are supplementing in the portal.
Yeah.
Like that's what the great programs are doing. I think Virginia Tech obviously wants to get there under Franklin, and Franklin's talked about how the basis needs to be high school, and then we'll supplement with the portal. This is a very portal-heavy roster. We know that in year one, and Franklin had to flip the roster quickly. That's what he's done. It all needs to come together, and when it's transfer portal heavy, it's kind of a crapshoot. We've seen both sides of the coin. Just look in the ACC. Florida State had that year where they went undefeated in the regular season, right? And a bunch of their portal guys hit. Then they tried the same recipe the following season, and they sucked. They were terrible. They were one of the worst teams in the FBS, and they haven't been the same since. So we've seen both sides of the coin in the portal era in this conference with a program that has a higher ceiling than Virginia Tech does currently.
Yeah, you look at these first 4 games, the VMI, ODU games need to be wins. We're not going back to that era of Virginia Tech football. The Maryland game, to me, is a toss-up. I think it can go either way. Boston College on the road. Anytime you're playing at BC, you're going to be playing in front of 6 fans. You're not really sure what kind of environment you're going to get. You're going to have to bring your own juice for that. And then that's when things really get tough. Pitt is always going to be a tough out with Narduzzi there. You say what you want about him. I'm not a huge fan of Pat Narduzzi, but the guy can coach his ass off. And then obviously going at Cal, Georgia Tech, kind of a crapshoot.
Wild card. I mean, everybody's talking about Tech being a wild card. Like, what are they going to be? You mentioned Georgia Tech losing their quarterback, losing their offensive coordinator, losing a bunch of skill position talent. Everybody's wondering kind of the same thing about Georgia Tech they are about Virginia Tech.
Yeah, it's one thing to think that Georgia Tech may take a step back, but I still think Brent Key can coach.
Yeah.
And
they could win a game like this against a team of similar talent, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they could win a game like that.
And then the hell streak, right? Clemson, SMU, Stanford, Miami, Virginia. So this is going to be a tough schedule. There's certainly opportunities for important wins ahead of them. That Pitt game is going to be really pivotal. That's a sellout. Tech announced that earlier today, I think. You've got to start winning these toss-up games. These are the games that Brent Pry struggled with throughout his tenure. These toss-up, one-score games. We all know Mike loves the stat. Brent Pry went like 1-81 in one-score games. Tech's got to start winning those, and it starts with Maryland. Tech hasn't beaten an out-of-conference opponent since 2017 in the Power Four. That's an ugly stat.
That's bad. Yeah, not great. They haven't had like a ton of swings, but they've had enough where they should have won one of them. Yeah,
Purdue, Rutgers multiple times, West Virginia multiple times. Gotta get off the schneid right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. I think folks are right to be excited. I don't want fans to not be excited about what we're witnessing. I do think Virginia Tech is trending in the right direction, both short and long term. However, fans need to make sure that the expectations are in line with reality. And if James Franklin goes 7-5 in year one, nobody should be upset about that. There may be a couple games in here where they kind of rub us the wrong way, but 7 wins after this team won 3 games last year and then 3 games just a couple years before that would be a huge turnaround for this program, considering the momentum that they have off the field.
We'll see y'all at the Military Bowl. Like with the same level of optimism we had 3 years ago, it'd be the same level of optimism. Like, oh my God, we're like so close to being back. It'd be kind of the same thing.
Shut up. God damn it.
The Go Bowling Military Bowl, might I add.
Couple more football notes. Kamari Copeland is on the Nagurski and Outland Trophy watch list. This is one of those guys I was talking about earlier where I think Kamari is a known commodity right on the defensive line. Around him, no clue.
No idea.
I have no idea what we're going to get out of the other defensive tackle spot or the 2 edge spots. Completely clueless.
It's like a couple of years ago we were like, man, really glad Josh Fuga's back because like we at least know what he is.
Yeah.
It's like a similar conversation. Obviously, I think Copeland's a better player than Fuga, but it's like a similar conversation. Yes. It's like, thank God Copeland's back. It's like outside, like, what are we going to get? We don't know.
Hope Josh Fuga and Wilfred Panay.
That's right. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Remember they almost didn't get him here because of COVID. You remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
That was a mess.
COVID was a wild time. Speaking of the off the field stuff, there was a cool interview that Brian White gave to Bill Roth, which, by the way, Brian White has put himself out there a ton since he got hired at Virginia Tech. I think that's a great move. He is firmly in the honeymoon period where fans are going to be super excited at just about anything he says. So go ahead and get out there and keep that positive momentum going. But one of the questions that Bill asked him was about the concerts in Lane Stadium. And after they addressed the elephant in the room, which was Ella Langley, which is the one that everybody wants.
Yeah.
Metallica, Kenny Chesney, Zach Brown Band, Morgan Wallen, Eric Church are his top 5 that he would like to see. Mike McDaniel, who is your top 5 to be be in Lane Stadium?
I didn't come prepared. I did not come prepared.
I didn't plan on asking you that, but it just came to me, and I felt like I should ask you. No. At least give me 3. Give me 3 acts.
I can. Morgan Wallen would be in there. I'm trying to match this up with like realistic people. Like, I think Morgan Wallen makes sense because he's done a tour that has filled like NFL stadiums.
Yep.
Plays
in college stadiums.
Right. And he's played in college stadiums.
Tennessee boy.
Yes. I think he would make a lot of Tennessee fans mad if he performed in Blacksburg, but money is money. It's green everywhere. I think he would be interested in doing that. I think I don't think like bringing Metallica back is very realistic just because they're pretty much done touring. Like, I don't think that's something they would do again.
I think we need to just be happy that we got him once. That was such a, like, to me, that was a once in a lifetime deal that was able to happen. If they did it twice, like, it'd be a lot of fun in the moment. But the fact that it only is probably going to happen once, the novelty of it, makes it so much cooler.
It also, like, you do away with that, like, dumb rumor that we would get for every big game. I heard Metallica's coming. They're performing Enter Sandman, like, before the game. Like, how many big games did that, like, fester around the internet? A lot.
It was like once a year for a while there.
It was, I mean, every time. So, I mean, there were a couple games, right? Tech was hosting Clemson. Tech was hosting Notre Dame. I'm just thinking like, big games, and or when College Game Day was in town, like in the middle of middle of the Fuente era, it was like, oh, here comes Metallica. Even dating back to like when I was in school, there were a couple like big Miami games. Obviously, it was like, oh,
I mean,
Metallica's gonna
2015 Ohio
perform.
State
2015 Ohio State's another one. Yeah,
was a game that they were talking about.
That's a good point. Yeah, that was another one.
So you said Wallen, and
I don't think I gave you another one.
No, I don't think you did. I'm not letting you off the hook.
I think Morgan Wallen makes sense. I do think Kenny Chesney makes a lot of sense. I think a Luke Combs would make a lot of sense.
Luke Combs is my number one. Especially after I had to go all the way to Charlottesville to see him this spring.
Yep. I mean, it's Ella Langley. I mean, I know she's like the hot up and coming country music star, but like,
played in Salem this year.
Yeah, is she going to sell out Lane Stadium? Maybe.
Yes. Right now, absolutely. Yeah. For me, it's Luke Combs, Ella Langley, and I'm kind of torn on my third one. I'm not a huge country music fan, but I would love to see Chris Stapleton there. I think that would be a good bit. I think the country road gives you so many different options because I think it really appeals to the demo.
It does. That's where my
and it also appeals to the area around Tech, right? Which is a very rural area that's obviously going to play into that. So it does seem like Virginia Tech is serious, Mike, about getting these concerts booked here in the next year or two. That's huge. I think it's something that seemed like such a no shit moment when we found out Metallica was coming. And the fact that it went off really without a hitch, except for the fact that Metallica got an old jersey, which we don't need to bring up again.
That's our thing. Yeah. Every ACC media day, we hang the wrong one on the mannequin, and then like 12 minutes later, we put the right one on every single year. I don't know who's in charge of that, but it's a constant fuck up.
I'm glad it got fixed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's just like a running, like you just recycle the tweets year over year. It's just so dumb.
Yeah, it is. But hopefully this is something we're going to get some news on maybe this fall or this winter where Tech is able to get somebody locked in. I know these tours get planned, years almost in advance. So they're going to need plenty of time to do that, but hopefully Tech is able to get that done. Two other notes I had, Mike, before we get on out of here. Actually, three notes. Mike Young gets a 1-year contract extension. There was a report that came out where, because Mike Young was entering the last year of his deal, and obviously Brian White is in a position where he doesn't really want to have to hire a basketball coach right now.
Yeah.
So Mike Young gets a 1-year extension, kind of putting this off. Not Mike McDaniel. Mike Young has rightfully earned a lot of criticism over the last couple of years for the program underperforming. And I certainly am not going to pull any punches there, but I do think, given the circumstances, this was probably needed to just kind of kick the can down the road on this. It gives Brian White a chance to evaluate the program, gives him an opportunity to see what the program needs, what his resources are, and then what he can realistically give basketball. And I think it also gives Mike Young a chance to feel this out and determine if this is something that he wants to continue doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were either assuming or hoping, because of the way the basketball team performed for stretches of the last season, I think a lot of people were just like, maybe Mike Young's just like ready to retire. Like after this year, like maybe this is going to be his last year. That's going to be it. But like, if he wants to coach, like I don't think he's at the stage of his career. He's either going to coach at Virginia Tech or he's not going to coach. I think that's kind of where things are at. Like, I'd be pretty surprised if he left Virginia Tech and went somewhere else. Like this is where he wants to be. But at the same time, like,
he's 63, Mike. He'll be 64 after this season.
Yeah. Like, is he an older coach? Yeah. Is he like a fossil in the profession? No. Like, if he wants to coach,
I mean, it's a realistic or a reasonable question. I think that we've seen so many coaches get out in the last 5 to 7
Yes.
years.
Yes.
Including some guys that are far younger than Mike
Yep.
Young. Tony Bennett is the easiest example.
Yep. People were talking about like, oh, is Bill Self going to do it? Bill Self had to put out a letter saying, oh, I'm going to come back. Now he's had health issues. It's a little different there because he's got health issues, and every single resource at his disposal at Kansas, like a way different situation. And he's not getting out because of, and I mean, Bill Self was doing NIL before it was cool. I mean, he got, level 2 sanctions or whatever it was. So totally different situation. But like, to your point, there are a lot of coaches who got out quickly, like Bennett's Jay Wright is another one that got out.
Yeah.
Same, like similar
Certainly
age.
could have stuck around, Jay Wright.
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of like in the Tony Bennett mold. Around this, I think he's a little older than Tony Bennett, but like around the same age, where it's like kind of surprising he got out when he did, considering where Villanova was. And like, yeah, it's a reasonable question to ask. But at the same time, it was just the fact that like people were just assuming, oh, he's just going to retire and then Tech will find a new coach. I mean, yeah, maybe, but like also Virginia Tech's in this spot with their basketball program in terms of like the resources that are provided to them, that if they have a couple injuries to key guys, like the season's going to very much go the same every single year. It's going to, Young's going to coach them at a level where they'll be competitive in a lot of games. And then there'll be games where the talent level is similar or perhaps maybe even a little better. And if they're a guy or two short, it's going to be a matter of, do they make enough jump shots in that particular game? I mean, how many games did we see last year where it was like a coin flip where you're like, oh, if we had one or two guys, like, oh, if Tyler Johnson was healthy and made like 2 shots, this game turns out a lot differently. That's kind of what you're dealing with the roster resources that you're being given. And you're going to be taking a swing on, some prospects too that probably have a lot of potential, and sometimes they're going to hit, sometimes they're not. They're going to be a little bit more expensive, like Neo Evdalis, right? Never really developed a jump shot. Will he ever? I don't know. But he's like this guy who's like this run and gun playmaker, in Europe. And will he come over and translate to the college game? There were stretches of good play, but I think largely a disappointment relative to expectations, and they paid him a lot of money, so he was out the door. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but like the basketball program, it's taking a backseat to football in terms of resources. I think rightfully so, because football drives everything, especially at a school like Tech. Tech will always be a football school. That being said, I think this was the right decision to keep Mike Young, new AD. You're trying to get football off the ground. Mike Young isn't coaching the program into the ground. I mean, he's not running it into the ground by any means. Like, I think it's a perfectly respectable men's basketball program in the ACC relative to what he's being allotted in terms of roster dollars. So, like, I think it's a perfectly reasonable move to keep him. He's a good coach. He's not without faults, but he's a good coach, and they don't have the money that other schools do, and they're going to be competitive. So it's like, why not keep a competitive basketball program around? Like, the floor is going to be high. I don't know.
If James Johnson were coaching this program, I don't think Brian White is handing out a 1-year deal.
Correct. That's correct.
White is perfectly aware that Mike Young is, to your point, more than capable of keeping this program respectable to the point where they can still sell tickets and still keep people in the seats in Castle. So trying to get this invest to win stuff going while also running a basketball search when you've only been here a couple months is absurd.
It's just like administratively cumbersome. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. And that says nothing to the point that Mike Young still might be the guy to run this program.
Yeah.
He is, again, not without faults, but without trusting your program that you are admittedly underfunding.
Yeah.
Without trusting the program to a newbie or like an up and comer, I don't know who you're going to get that's any better than Mike Young.
It was a joke. The money they gave him 2 years ago for his roster was a disaster, an absolute joke.
It was an embarrassment.
It was an embarrassment, and they were respectable.
Yeah.
Like relative to talent level and all that, and all the young, you're playing a million freshmen like Hammond, Tyler Johnson, they're all freshmen, and they're all playing a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
And easy to root for as the year went on, because you saw how, there were some embarrassing losses in there early in the year and all that stuff. But like, it was like one of those things where they got into ACC play, and all of a sudden they're like going toe to toe with some of the better teams in the ACC with a roster that is absolute garbage. You're most of your rotations like freshmen, but it's not like you're Duke where most of your rotations freshmen. They're all like, lottery picks. No,
they're all top 20 players, and half of them are going to go to the NBA after year one.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not to say like Hammond and Tyler Johnson, like they're not good players, like they are, but they were more like developmental in nature. They were decent prospects coming out of high school, but they weren't like the top players in the country out of high school, right?
Well, so and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but you follow college basketball nationally a lot closer than I do. A lot of the more competitive teams in college basketball, especially those that make runs in the tournament, they don't have a lot of these 5-star freshmen.
Not anymore.
They're loaded up with 4th and 5th year guys.
Yep.
And they're relying on players that have played a ton of games and a ton of minutes, and have cut their teeth usually at smaller programs and transferred up.
Yep.
So that is going to kind of be the mold for Virginia Tech, because Tech's not going to afford a top 20 player out of high school. It's just not going to happen. So you're trying to blend that developmental side of things where you can try and have 1 or 2 Hunter Coutures on your team, and then you're trying to supplement a couple of those freshmen that you're able to keep around, which has admittedly been the biggest issue that Mike Young has had.
Yeah,
is retaining his players.
Yep.
But you're trying to develop some of those guys and then supplement around them players that get overlooked. And that has been a hit or miss process. And, I'm sure Mike Young would tell you the same thing, that he's not overly impressed with his success in and out of the portal. Some of those guys have been great.
Yeah.
Some of those guys have not been great. Some of those guys have gone on to play great at other schools. Tyler Nickel is one that comes to mind right off the bat. So that's just the world that we live in, and it doesn't make any sense to try and run a basketball search with everything going on right now. Mike Young is more than capable of leading this program one more year, and you can address this in May and in June when the season's over, and you can figure out if Mike Young's still the guy that you want around. And Mike, to your point, Mike Young is not the guy you need to worry about leaving for another school. It's not Buzz Williams. So if you offer Mike an extension, he's probably going to take it.
Yeah, he's going to take it, or he's going to retire. He's going to actually say, I actually do want to retire. It's not you're not forcing me out. Thank you for the extension offer. I am actually done coaching now. Thank you for that. And a school like Virginia Tech, just to close the loop,
which is the place he wanted to be, Mike.
Exactly. I mean, this is a dream job for him. He's from Southwest Virginia. This is the area he's from. He wanted to coach here. His dad was able to, first couple of years, see him coach at Virginia Tech. That was really meaningful to him. So there were a lot of sentimental reasons for him to come back to Blacksburg. I think he would like to see it through as long as he feels like doing it. And Tech is a school that is always going to be able to pay, not always, but they're going to try to pay their top 2 or 3 guys on the roster, and then they're going to flip the rest of it.
Yep.
That's exactly what has been happening for most years except 2 years ago, right? Where it was they couldn't keep anybody, everybody left in the portal. And now you're at the point where it's like, okay, Hammond, Johnson, Hansberry, we can pay you. Everybody else, see you later, sort of thing. And we'll flip the guys that we want to flip. If you want to stick around, great. If not, see you later. We're going to try to upgrade, but we're not going to have a ton of money to do so. So it's really just exchanging a bunch of rotation, like those types of guys, not non-star players is who you're essentially interchanging,
shuffling in and out.
Right? Shuffling in and out. Yeah, it's like, okay, Jaden, shoot. Like, you didn't make as many shots as we needed you to, so we're going to try to find another 6 foot 6'5" wing that maybe was under recruited that can shoot, and hopefully he makes more shots inside Castle Coliseum. Like, that's the hope.
And he requires less dollars.
Yes. Oh, we're going to pay you $500,000. Oh, we're actually going to pay this guy $350,000, and we're going to hope that he makes like 5 more shots in ACC play, and a couple of them come in like those swing games.
Yeah.
Oh, and that we all stay healthy, right? Because we're only really able to afford like seven guys like that are ACC caliber players.
ACC caliber players,
and the remainder are either freshmen that could be good eventually that are going to have to play up, or they're not ACC caliber, but like we're only going to rely on them if we have to. And you just hope you stay healthy. I mean, that's what it's going to be. So Mike Young is the guy to keep this thing afloat.
Yeah, and another part of it too we haven't mentioned. Mike Young probably wants to stick around for some of the benefits of Invest to Win. Mike knows that while most of that money is going to football, some of it isn't. Some of it is going to the Olympic sports, and some of it is going to basketball, both men's and women's. And I know Han Hurst got a facelift. I'm sure Mike was excited about that. I'm sure Mike is excited to get a few more dollars in his coffers for NIL. So he probably wants to stick around and see if this works, and to see if, maybe 3 years from now he can be like, well, yeah, football's won, I don't know, 25 games in 3 years. And next thing you know, the donations are rolling in, and I've got $2 million more in NIL than I had previously.
I mean, Mike Young benefits from I think a realistic goal for Virginia Tech football in the next 3 years would be pushing for a playoff appearance. I think that's a realistic goal given what they're investing in the program and who the head coach is. I think that's realistic in the next 3 years and how they're recruiting right now. If Virginia Tech were to make a playoff in the next 3 years, you know who's going to benefit from that? Mike Young will benefit from it.
That's a lot of money.
Of that money, that's a ton of money. Like your extra TV revenue. If you're hosting, I mean, obviously, if you're hosting a game, it's even more money in your pocket. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it will go to football, of course, because they are the ones that brought the money in. A lot of it will go to football, but some of it will go to basketball. All of a sudden, maybe some of those fan donations that go a long way toward helping NIL, maybe all of a sudden you don't need as much of that money going to, I mean, I feel like football, you need as much money as you get, but just play this out for a second. Maybe some of that money can now be allocated towards the basketball program and help them out in ways that maybe they aren't right now.
Yeah. Speaking of money, a $1.2 million gift for track and field, which, I mean,
sure.
Yeah, have at it. These are the types of donations, Mike, you start securing when you have, and I'm not going to be naive. When you have a $1.2 million gift, that's something that's been in the works for a while. But when you have a professional staff, these are the types of things you're going to start closing, and you're going to start seeing more of them.
Yep.
And we saw that with the $75 million that was donated, which was probably known about for quite some time, but Tech was able to get that across the finish line. You're going to start to see more of that stuff. So I'm very, very excited for them. Track and field has been one of the best programs at the school for quite some time. They regularly have folks winning the ACC championship. They regularly win the ACC team titles, both men's and women's. So that's a very, very competitive program. Last thing I have, so practice starts this week. And there's going to be media day on Sunday. Izzy Rulin is going to be shooting that for us. She's going to get some photos and do some interviews there on site. And then if you're in Blacksburg or the NRV, Fan Day is Sunday, August 16th from 4 to 5, and it's free admission. So if you're in the area, go.
Yep.
Go check out the program that you're paying for.
Go to it. May as well.
Yeah. Anything else, Mike? It is 11:16 Eastern Coast time.
Well, from here on out, this is going to look, feel, smell, taste like a college football podcast again, because we have a bunch of season preview content coming.
Yeah. Previewing the offense, previewing the defense, previewing the games. We'll give you our official record predictions. And then, Mike, in about a month, we're going to be – I don't know that we're going to do a full game preview for VMI. What the hell am I supposed to say about the Keydets, Mike?
I mean, we could be on here a while if you're
we stole their head
if you want an
coach.
actual answer. That's I
probably
forgot about
the
that.
most interesting.
Actually, I did forget about that. Yeah, I did forget about that we did
Danny
that.
Rocco.
Yep. That's
Senior
right.
assistant.
We did do that, didn't we?
But no, we are going to have a ton of content available, and we're going to be publishing a ton of that here in the next coming weeks. Obviously, once we get into the season, we're going to be publishing episodes mostly 2 days a week. And then, of course, we're still super excited about our partners this year, RPM Insight and Blacksburg, ACC Road Trip, Home Field Apparel. Super, super excited about the season, Mike. There's a ton of optimism. Mike and I wrote about this a few days ago. Fans are right to feel optimistic about it. It's one thing to say temper your expectations for the short term, but long term, Mike, this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, and who's to say? I mean, maybe this team goes 9-3, and then it's like, oh my god, okay, we're gonna be good right away. Then that's fine. Fine with
they
me.
can go, Mike. They can go 9-3 and lose out on a playoff spot to like a 4-6 SEC team or 4-8 SEC team in the expanded playoff.
Yeah, I was gonna say once this thing goes to 24, almost anything is possible.
Yeah, 500 in the SEC will get you a Mike. So we should probably should have talked about this earlier. I don't know a ton about this, and I'm not sure it's going to hold up, Mike, because it seems like it's getting appealed.
Yeah,
there was a ruling in Colorado where, given that the NCAA has approved the new 5 years to play rule, there was a lawsuit filed to allow all of the 4-year seniors that finished their eligibility last year to come back and play a 5th year.
Yep.
That injunction was granted.
Yep.
Mike, it is August 4th. Week 0 is in like 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we now have a program like Indiana, who apparently is bringing back Stephen Daly, who was one of their best players last year.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine they're not going to be the only ones to do this.
No.
Mike, I remind you again, it is August 4th.
Yeah.
And we are now looking at players available.
I mean, this is getting sued into oblivion, but yeah. We're to the point.
Such a shit show.
I mean, we're to the point. There's like, and then there's the bill in Congress, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Cruz Cantwell bill that
Yep.
All of a sudden the SEC and Big Ten are like, oh, we're good with the revised language. Okay, is that? I mean, I'm not naive. I know that's got a long ways to go as well. But there's just like a lot of stuff happening off the field that, as we move into August, you're hoping that you can talk less about that and more about the actual sport. Because like I've had a lot of stuff going on, like, personal life, home, all that stuff. And it's summer still. And there's just like a lot of stuff going on where I am just now like getting back into college football mode, like recording this podcast, recording our ACC season. We do our team previews on my ACC podcast with Joey, like just getting back into the swing of things. But now we got to worry about all this stuff off the field too, where I'm just like, the games can't get here soon enough. We're almost there.
We went through this with conference realignment every year for the past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're at it with legislation rulings.
I wish we could just go back to realigning conferences after listening to all this stuff. I mean, that wasn't great either. But if you're making a tiered list, I'd rather just talk about Northern Illinois going to the Mountain West, for example.
Yeah. Which also doesn't make any sense, but I can at least. Well, let me rephrase that. It's illogical, but I at least understand what that means. I don't understand what this ruling is going to mean for the future. You cannot retroactively make players eligible 3 weeks before the season starts.
Sure you can. In fact, let's do it.
God damn it. Imagine if God, why am I forgetting his name? Imagine if Texas Tech quarterback.
Oh, Sorsby?
Yeah, imagine if Sorsby actually like ran this out and said, "Screw y'all, I'm playing," and then that guy.
Just kidding.
And then the Big 12 started like trying to sue Texas Tech. And then we've got Colorado, some district court in Colorado is like, oh, fifth years from last year can play.
Oh, yeah.
And this is all happening at once. All the while the Senate is trying to negotiate with Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti on a bill. It's just an abject mess.
It's a nightmare.
I'm not a fan, Mike, of trying to rely on Congress to save college football, but nobody in charge seems to give a shit. Nobody seems to care.
Somebody's. I mean,
So we are now relying on politicians to try and fix this thing.
Listen, your top level point, we're in lockstep, but your other point you just made that nobody else in the sport seems to be doing anything about it, totally agree. So you know what? Somebody's got to do it.
I'm almost at the point where I just wouldn't mind if the SEC did break off. Just fine, just go do your own thing. See you.
You know, that's a
just play yourselves every week. That's fine.
That's a Danny Cannell take that has been circulated more recently, I think, or Tom Fornelli. One of them is just like, yeah, just let him go.
I'm not quite there, but I'm getting there.
I'm getting there. I'm coming. I will say, I was very anti that idea. I'm starting to come around on it.
The whole Super League thing that they were talking about,
we are the Super League, that thing. Yeah.
Well, no, just like the fact that the SEC and the Big Ten were going to form a Super League.
Oh yeah.
See ya. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm so over these conferences. Over.
Yep.
And then you've got Jim Phillips' subplot. The ACC is 3 seasons away from crumbling.
Oh yeah. Well,
unless
I mean,
the Senate's like,
maybe.
Just kidding. You can't move.
I that's what I was about to say. I was like, yeah, maybe. Although, like, maybe they're not on life support as much as I thought they might be.
Who knows?
Would you rather? I have a question. This was we'll wrap up in a second. But I was listening to Cover 3. Bud Elliott was asked,
if the SEC AI slop himself.
If the SEC, that's a whole nother thing. If the SEC were to break off, right, and do their own thing, and Florida State got an invite, would you want to join it as a Florida State alum? And his answer was no.
Oh, if I'm Florida State.
If you're Florida State. And his answer was no. And the reason why was because he said, this feels like almost like live, where it's like, I don't know the actual viability. You know what I mean? Like, will they get enough money to sustain it in the way they think they will? Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, the answer is yes. But it's much easier in theory than in practice, I think, because the whole reason why these college football packages are so valuable right now, right, is because everybody is still playing each other.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's still at the core of it, even with like the conferences all screwed up. I mean, Northern Illinois is in the Mountain West. We got Cal and Stanford and SMU in the ACC, for Christ's sake. Like, it's a disaster. Like, we've totally torn apart the regionality of the sport.
Isn't Sac State in like the MAC?
Yeah, Sac State. That's a great point. Sac State is now in the MAC and Northern Illinois is in the Mountain West. That's correct. Makes a lot of sense.
What are we doing?
We're making it up as we go along.
What are we doing? Just like Cal and Stanford in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything else. Again, shout out to RPM Insight in the New River Valley. If you own property or you're looking for someone to help you manage the properties that you own, you're looking to rent, RPM Insight, best partner you could possibly have. ACC road trip, if you're getting ready to get those road trips scheduled, picking a road game that you're going to go to. I know a lot of Tech fans are looking at SMU and Cal potentially. So if you're going to one of those two places, check out accroadtrip.net. And then, of course, Home Field Apparel. Get yourself some amazing retro gear, 15% off if you use promo code BeamerBall. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. I've got this helmet. We're gonna get it. I'm gonna give it away. I need 1,000 people to subscribe, and I'm gonna give this damn helmet away. The wife's wondering when this helmet is gonna go. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on Spotify or Amazon Music, make sure you follow us there so you never miss an episode. We'll be back here soon. We'll recap Media Day. We'll talk about the offense. We'll talk about the defense. And then that season preview is coming up in just a few weeks. But until then, folks, go Hokies.